Welcome back to the Tapes Archive podcast, where we release interviews that have never been heard before. In this episode, we have the Grateful Dead and the Tubes keyboardist Vince Welnick. At the time of this interview in 1992, Welnick was 41 years old and was promoting the Grateful Dead's 2 sold-out shows at Deer Creek Music Center in Indiana. In the interview, Welnick talks about what it was like auditioning for the Grateful Dead, his former band, the Tubes, and how being in the Grateful Dead felt like being a part of a big old wonderful family.
I do a variety of things.
Like what?
Merchandising, for the most part.
What do you merchandise?
I run a clearinghouse for Grateful Dead concert tapes. I also go to the concerts where I sell frisbees and beach balls, dog bandanas.
Mr. Hardy, you've made a practice, have you not, of following the Grateful Dead from city to city in order to attend their concerts?
Yes, I have made it a practice.
You traveled to Egypt for a Grateful Dead concert.
I'm not going to sit here like some kind of a criminal. I didn't do anything wrong. I like the Grateful Dead. Maybe there's more to being a Deadhead than just the music. Maybe it's a little heavier than that.
As always, we have music critic Mark Allen at the helm conducting the interview. If you'd like to support the show, please like, follow, and subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. There, we post other content and information not available on the podcast. If you'd like to read the transcripts for any of our episodes, please head over to our website at thetapesarchive.com. We'll jump into the interview after a quick word from our sponsors.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
We're the Grateful Dead.
Hi.
Hello, 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 hello. We're the Grateful Dead.
Right. And if you want to know about all the cool stuff that we've been up to, all the projects and products that you might be interested in knowing about and maybe buying, you'll probably be interested in this toll-free number.
And if you call it right now, we will get back to you as soon as possible.
You bet. And the next 30 seconds of dead air is only the beginning.
Only the beginning?
Only the beginning.
One last thing before we get to the interview, the Tapes Archive podcast is a proud member of Osiris Media, a global community connecting passionate fans with podcasts and experiences about artists and topics you love. Thanks for tuning in, and now it's time to open the vault.
Hello? Hi, this is Vince? Yeah. Hi, it's Mark Allen. All right, let me kill the music here. That's Bob Marley up way too loud. Okay. Let me shut this window, too. All right, I'll hang on. Okay. Boy, do you think the Four Seasons get many people who play Bob Marley up real loud? Maybe, at least on this floor. I don't know. They asked for it. They put the CD player in. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Are you a big Marley fan? Yeah, I like him a lot. In fact, I'm trying to introduce Waiting in Vain to the band. Uh-huh. Any takers so far? Yeah, they said you learned it first. And we'll whip it out. It seems pretty easy enough. You know, it's normally we would have to have a rehearsal or something, but we could maybe work it up at sound check because it's not a difficult song. Yeah, I would think Mickey would be into that pretty much. Yeah, well, it feels like a good summery kind of thing to play outdoors. And if you could fit, it would fit with a couple of songs, you know. It's got lots of room for vocals. It's got a lot of vocal potential for everybody to join in. I kind of like the way everybody's singing lately. Yeah, we have our new ear monitors, and I think it's improved everybody's vocals a lot. Because everybody's able to hear each other? Is that... Yeah, when you sing, especially when you're singing, it's just like singing in your own ear. And if you have your vocal turned up, you know, enough in your own monitor, you can hear the slightest little whisper, and you can sing in key, and you're not trying to get over the top of the music, which, you know, if you have to sing above the volume of the music, that limits you to your range quite a bit. And sometimes it pulls you off key. Now it's not a problem at all. If you concentrate, and you can sing perfectly at any level, especially really delicately. It's great. I love it for like falsetto too. Was this something that the band had been having problems with, or discovered that it would work better? Well, we tried them out. Bobby and Jerry, I think, tried them out first, and they loved them. And because the sound's right up there in your head, and you can actually hear everybody. Like when depending on where you're on stage, it was difficult to hear everybody all the time. And you could put them in your monitors, but then you have to put them in pretty loud, and then you got other priorities. And, oh, shucks. Could you hold on? Sure. Anyway, you were telling me about the ear monitors, and what I'm wondering is, so does that mean that you don't use any stage monitors at all?
No speakers whatsoever.
That's going to be great.
It works good for the PA. Then you're not listening to the decibels that you are normally listen to, so you don't suffer ear death from these.
Let me get into the scheduled material here. What I wanted to ask you is Being in the Dead anything like you imagined it would be?
I never imagined being in the Dead. I imagined being friends with them. It was kind of a vision I had when I first heard their album. I just felt like I was there. But actually being in the Dead didn't occur to me until all of a sudden, suddenly his spirit died. My wife, Lori, inquired with Bobby's secretary at the time, who used to be the Tubes secretary. As you know, I played with the Tubes.
Yes, I do know.
And Mimi told my wife that they were auditioning people. And I wanted to audition to see what's going on. I didn't know if there would be any chemistry there, but I wanted to see if maybe they wanted me to be in the band. And then as soon as I met Jerry and Bob, I decided right away I really wanted to be in the band then. And I started checking out the music, which they sent me, so I could learn some songs for the audition. And it was getting more fabulous with the thought of it.
They send you sheet music?
No, they sent me tapes.
Oh, tapes.
Mostly live tapes, but they also sent CDs, which was a laugh because I didn't own a CD player. I didn't tell them that. But I learned stuff off the tapes. And then they auditioned a bunch of guys. I went in there and we played about 8 songs. And then I sat around by the phone for about a week. I wondered how I did. Actually, I didn't know if I was going to get it because some of the other people in there were pretty hot. In fact, when I started hearing the names, I got kind of bummed out. But, no, they picked me.
Do people know who you competed against? Because I don't think I know who you...
Well, there were some of the guys, T. Lavitz.
Oh, really?
Pete Sears, and a guy who, for some reason, I thought might get it because he was playing with my ex-drummer, with Perry from the Tubes. He had his own band and his own name. It was Tim Gorman. He played with The Who, lots of people.
You had some heavy-duty competition there.
Yeah, but, I had this dream when I was a kid of meeting up with these guys, and but, you can never be cocky, like say, well, I got the audition, and every day that went by seemed longer and longer, and then Bobby called me up and said, is your insurance paid up? And then I knew I'd landed a big gig.
Yeah. Now,
hey, what paper is this?
The Indianapolis Star.
Indianapolis Star?
So, yeah, you'll be here next Friday, I think it is.
We're going to be in Indianapolis?
Yeah. Oh, no, next Sunday and Monday. Yeah, a week from Sunday and a week from Monday.
Where, Deer Creek?
Yeah.
And your name?
Mark Allen.
Mark Allen.
Yeah, Dennis told you that this was going to happen, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my facts straight.
Okay, good. Yeah, I guess you probably go through...
interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I mean, I guess you probably go through enough of these where you don't even know, it's hard to keep track of all this stuff. So.
Well, yeah, they don't give me too many. Yeah. So you mostly want to talk to Jerry and the other guys. I'm pretty new at this, new in the band, so only got 2 years worth of experience.
Yeah, but it's pretty interesting. I mean, you get a perspective that, the other guys don't have just because they've been in it all the time. I mean, they don't know what it's like. And you had talked about the first time that you heard him when you were a kid. How old a guy are you?
I'm 41.
You're 41, so you're... But
when did their album come out?
What, the first album?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's got to be, something like that.
Then I would have made me 14.
But I mean, when you're a kid, you probably wouldn't even think that that bands would be around as long as a band like the Dead has been around.
Right. But I was already starting to play in bands back then. Well, I was gigging. Well, I did my first gig when I was about 11 in church. I used to do my 7 o'clock Sunday gig. I was playing in bands when I was 14. And so I was into all the new stuff, particularly what was coming from San Francisco.
Hey, did you grow up in the San Francisco area?
Pardon me?
Did you grow up in the San Francisco?
No, I grew up in Phoenix.
Oh, Phoenix.
See, where it was a rock and roll desert at the time. Country was the big thing, but Phoenix was pretty hip as far as picking up on all the music from everywhere. Mm-hmm. So we did I had the Grateful Dead album.
Compare being in the Tubes with being in the Dead. I would imagine it's an incredibly different experience.
Well, yeah, big difference. Compare it. The Tubes were like a traveling circus, a 3-week circus that set up in a different town every night, which was kind of crazy unto itself. We weren't as spontaneous, although we had a great time in the Tubes. It was fun and doing all of that stuff and playing every place we played was fabulous. But the tours were long and hard and 200 or more a year. That even the most interesting music can get boring, if the one thing we did have in common was a big selection of songs to choose from. It's just that when the Tubes went out on a tour, because we had a show, we had to set up choreography and everything, so there wasn't many places where we could change songs once we got the tour together. We could change all the songs once we did another tour, and we would do that. But we had hundreds of songs to pick from, because the Tubes were together 17 years, and then, like the Grateful Dead, they played 133 different ones last year. So that's the one thing we have in common, and then everything else was different. Musically, it's very fulfilling playing with the Grateful Dead because of the diversity and the fact that there's more emphasis on the music. A lot of times I was dancing instead of playing, with the Tubes. But no, we had some great songs. The Tubes had great songs, and the Dead have great songs. But the Dead change up every night, and that makes it all ultimately more interesting. And it's a little easier going from my 41-year-old bones to do close, under 100 gigs instead of 200 and travel by bus and all of that kind of stuff. If he had not left the Tubes, and if the things had not happened with the Tubes, I'd still be in that band because I'd have been loyal to them to the bitter end.
Well, what did happen?
Well, he left, and we went on for years without him, and then couldn't afford to do the show, and bad breaks, setbacks, management, all the above, and then more people left the band, and it just wasn't the Tubes anymore. So I went with Todd Rundgren for a couple albums and a couple tours. I played on Nearly Human and Second Wind, his last two albums.
The Tube show was a pretty amazing show to watch. I imagine, like you said, three-ring circus, that's sort of what it was like. I mean,
yeah, people would have to come to the show. That's another thing we have in common with the band, sort of, is a lot of people would come multiple times to the show. In the Grateful Dead version, it's just because it's so wonderful to be there, and also you got to come many times to hear the songs that you want to hear. But with the Tubes, they would come sometimes just to watch the dancers, sometimes just to listen to the music, sometimes to watch the props go up and down and in and out, watch the crew try to be on stage and act and move the gear, how quick we could change a set in the dark out. So yeah, we had people coming for multitudes of reasons. And a lot of people would come to want to be in the Tubes and would wound up performing with us.
Really?
Oh yeah, Jane Doorknocker, Pearl Harbor. We even had Robin Williams try out for our talent contest where we picked 8 winners to appear with the band for a 2-week run at Bimbo's, and Robin Williams tried out and failed, although we became friends later.
Yeah, he was unknown at the time, right? Yeah.
We had Jane Doorknocker with us and Reese Styles doing Don't Touch Me There and other stuff. And
on a motorcycle driven on stage. That was...
Kenny, our choreographer, went on to be a movie director. He does all his dance movies. Michelle wound up with Todd Rundgren, one of our dancers. They just had a baby named Reebok. A couple of them became actresses.
Do you think the Tubes would have done better commercially if they hadn't become known first for like White Punks on Dope and Don't Touch Me There?
Well, the White Punks was the anthem of the FM radio, like top 10 most requested for a long time.
It almost makes you a novelty.
Well, some people thought it that way. I prefer to think we were just ahead of our time. I mean, look what they're doing now. It's not a novelty. They take it seriously. But it's all, a lot of the new stuff around is saying the same thing we were saying.
Yeah. I don't know if bands do quite as involved and elaborate a show as...
No, the show part that was at a time when the economics were a little bit more conducive to that. I don't think anybody could do that show like the Tubes on the level we did it in a smaller place with, so little overhead, because it cost us money to do that show every time we put it on. And so what band's going to do that for 17 years?
But it must be amazing to work in a band like the Dead and know that everywhere you go the show is sold out, so there's no worry about selling tickets. And
it's really first rate, first class. And it's great. The audience is so cool too. I love the audience.
Did you find it tough, and do you still find it tough to work without a set list?
Not so much now. I'm getting a feel for it. Yeah, I like it. It's kind of interesting. Hold on, I bet that's my wife again.
Sure.
How much more we got?
Another 10 minutes, okay?
Hold on.
Did you happen to read the interview that Jerry gave the Rolling Stone last October?
Yeah, I think Yeah, I believe I did. He was on the cover.
Right, yeah. Well, he talked about a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. He had talked about how he felt that there had been some inertia in the band, that, they didn't see the band moving forward or progressing at all. Did you see that as a new member? Or?
I didn't see it because how could I compare it at the time? I didn't know where it was coming from in the first place, so I couldn't tell if it... But now, in retrospect, I did take... time out of their evolution. It took some serious time out. They had to fall back, spend what normally would have been their whole year's budget on rehearsal and working out new songs and writing and composing. They had to spend going into the past with Welnick. We tried to knock off about 10 songs a day, and we made great progress and everything. But and we got to review some songs and I think in some cases, the songs, especially the vocals, after they had to analyze them, with me, got a little more, polished a bit. But there were no new songs to learn, and there was no time to do them, and they had to go out on the road almost immediately, and we had very little time. And so, yeah, and that's because of me, but, that was the way it had to be. I mean... You don't give a guy 140 songs and say, okay, you're on. But I think I learned them pretty quick. I worked on it at home. I spent more time at home working on it before we rehearsed than we actually rehearsed. So I gave them a break here and there, and it was probably the pits for those guys.
But I don't think they were talking about having to teach you the songs. I think they were probably...
Well, it's just the transition. I ate up all their time for like a whole year, I figured. We had a whole year working a new keyboard player instead of what would have happened in a year. And all I can do to make up for that is evolve quicker, bring something into the party myself, which I wrote a song with a couple of the guys in the band. And now I'm trying to make up for lost time.
Yeah, that was my next question, actually, was new material. I mean, there's no new Dead album this time particularly, which I guess doesn't really matter when you're touring. But
no, we have new songs, though, that will eventually be on an album, but when, I do not know. I doubt if it would be this year.
Yeah. What are is it likely we'll hear any of them? You playing them?
Oh, yeah. I'll hear some names.
Okay.
Corrina.
Spelled Corrina? Uh-huh. Okay.
And that's Mickey Hart, and Bobby sings it. And Bobby, I believe, co-wrote it, too. Oh, and the Hunter, right. And then Robert Hunter,
Right, yeah.
And then Phil did Wave to the Wind.
Wave to the Wind.
With Robert. Jerry's got So Many Roads, which I believe is with Hunter, too. Then I've got Way to Go Home, which was with Hunter and Bob Braylove. And there's I've got another demo I'm working on with Barlow and Bob Braylove. And there were other songs coming in, but those were the only ones we got to nail down before we took off. Then we also do a couple of new covers, but those are the originals, and they're more close. Phil has another one already done, but we just haven't learned it yet. And I think Jerry's got a few, and Bobby's has. We're probably getting close to having an album's worth, except that the band wants to learn them and take them on the road first and get acquainted with them before they go down on the record. They don't like to write in the studio like the Tubes used to do. We'd have a deadline. We go in there. Well, let's do that record. Then we learn the songs off the record after we finished it. We figured out what the hell we did. So, I like the way it's moving now, and it's coming right along. And there's no hurry. There's nobody that's gonna light a fire up our butt and push us to do something before it's time. And that's really the luxury I see of this band, is the freedom to be able to develop freely and not be under any kind of pressure from anybody.
Yeah. That's a really unique experience in the music.
Yeah, that's the American way, I thought. I always dreamed it'd be like this.
And then in this interview, he said, if you're looking for comfort, join a club or something. The Grateful Dead is not where you're going to find comfort. And the question was about, is it difficult for a newcomer to deal with being in the Dead? He said, in fact, if anything, you'll catch a lot of shit. And if you don't get it from the band, you'll get it from the roadies. And so has it been tough to fit in?
No.
was
mighty comfortable. I don't think he realized where I was coming from. Like, I don't have to share a room with anyone anymore.
Yeah.
I don't ride on a bus after the gig for 10 hours anymore. I don't play 200 shows a night, 2 shows a night sometimes. I mean, 2 shows a year and sometimes two shows a night for 2 weeks on end. Now, when the Tubes were on top with She's a Beauty in the top 10, it wasn't like that. But the last few years of my life before the Grateful Dead were tossed between the Tubes and Todd Rundgren. And it was, you got to deal with folks there, too. And there was challenging things working with Todd that were really difficult, like doing a live album, and not only you're playing and singing, which usually you're just doing one or the other, you're also following a conductor who was Todd, and playing in front of an audience, that was a bitch, but they're a very forgiving audience, and so is the band. If I screw up, they're going to call me on it, and it won't happen again as long as I can help it, but they're not going to label me an imbecile because of and certainly the audience isn't going to hold anything against me, like if when I get up and walk away from the song thinking it's over and it's not, in the beginning I did that. But I try to work real hard at this. I don't want to screw up in front of those many people. So I hate making mistakes. But no, these guys have made me totally comfortable. The crew and everybody, it's just fabulous. They couldn't have stayed together this long. They didn't have just a wonderful relationship with everybody.
Yeah, I wondered if he was being sarcastic, and maybe he was being sarcastic.
I thought he was on. He sounded like he was on a bit of a bum with that interview, but they weren't hard on me at all. They were very gentle, most generous and compassionate. And I feel fabulous. I feel like I'm in a big old wonderful family.
You mentioned doing 133 songs last year. A typical year for the Tubes. What would you do, about 20, 25?
No, we do more than that in the night.
Oh, okay.
On a gig. No, we tossed around maybe 60, but we had 200 or more songs in our repertoire. Mm-hmm. But we usually change. Well, maybe 80. We would change almost all the songs for every tour, and we do about 4 a year or so. But not nearly as many as Grateful Dead.
That's still a lot of songs, though. Like when you did the Todd tours, I can't imagine that you had to learn nearly that many, did you?
Oh, no. We play the same exact thing, 20 or 20 songs, the same ones for the whole tour. That was easy. But also the Tubes was easy, too, because that was 17 years in the making, acquiring that set list. There were some really complicated songs, but we worked on them diligently, and after a year or so, they became second nature to you. So to do that many in that short a time with the Grateful Dead, that's the biggest mouthful I have ever taken.
Is Bruce Hornsby with you this time around?
No, he handed the baton off to me on the spring tour. He felt things were going well, and he was going to have his life. But he is coming out. I think he's coming out tomorrow and going to sit in. Okay. And he's always welcome anytime. Yeah, we miss him, and we love to play with him. Yeah, and of course you must be comfortable with dual keyboards because all the bands you've played with have more than one keyboard. Yeah, Todd's band had 2. The Tubes had 2. Right. So yeah, I can hang with that. And the likes of Bruce on piano is, what can you say? I mean, that's the most fabulous guy I could think of to have on piano playing with me. Yeah. But he's happy, and we're happy, and he's coming out tomorrow. It sounds like you couldn't be in a much better position. I mean, it seems like you got your dream job right now. It's a pretty wonderful thing. This is kind of like a vision I had when I was a kid, when I was about 11. Yeah. I saw a sea of people with their arms stretched out, and now I'm looking at it every night. Anyway, is there anything else you want me to tell people about you, the tour, the Dead? Anything you think would be interesting? No. You seem to cover it pretty well. Yeah, okay. And I should ask you this, and it's just kind of meant as a goofy question, but was there anything, I'm sure you heard your share of Spinal Tap jokes about Dead keyboard players. Oh, sure, yeah. Blown up and shit. Yeah. No fear of that, huh? No, what a way to go. But I'll try to see that it doesn't happen. Good. For a while, at least. Great. Well, I appreciate your time, Vince. We'll see you next Sunday. Okay, Mark. Thanks a lot. Okay, come looking for you backstage. Okay. We'll do. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Tapes Archive podcast. Please remember you can always find more information about the show and the individual episodes at our website, thetapesarchive.com. Until next time, the vault is closed.